Good day, fellow deal makers. Welcome to the Deal Scout. On this show, we talk about deals ranging from lemonade stands all the way to SPACs and all the deals in between. We've interviewed almost a couple hundred entrepreneurs, investors, deal makers to learn their story, their origin story, how they got started, some of the things that they've learned along the way, and give you an opportunity, if you want, to do a deal with them. So on today's show, we're going to have a conversation with a guy who just loves being in the game of entrepreneurship. We're going to hear his story, built and sold a company, and just wanted to get back in the game. So he's doing it over and over and over again. So with that, Bri, welcome to the Deal Scout.
Thanks, Josh. Glad to be here.
Yeah, man. All right. So right off the bat, man, unique accent. Where where are you located? Where are you from?
Well, I'm from, some people call it the sticks of Alabama. I'm from Lower Alabama,
Got it.
down in Mobile.
Mobile, Alabama. All right. So Bri, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are?
Yeah, well, live in Lower Alabama, born and raised here, went to school here, including college. Got out of college and got into the insurance business because I thought sales suited me well and I enjoyed the freedom of that lifestyle. And I pretty quickly found that I liked doing things on my own. And so I started trying to build businesses on the side and eventually realized, hey, I've been learning how to do insurance all this time. Why not just stick to what I know? So I went and launched my own agency, built that up for 3.5 years, and then sold it a year and a half ago. And working through an earn out that company now. Went ahead and I wasn't necessarily planning to do this, but came across some people who were launching businesses in the e-commerce space and teaching others how to do it. And I said, hey, I want to learn how to do that. So I got involved in a coaching program, and I'm now launching. I have 3 brands, e-commerce brands, that I'm in the middle of launching right now.
Cool. All right. Before we unleash the second part of your entrepreneurial journey, right? So you were always involved in building businesses on the side, doing side hustles, building stuff. And then you're like, you look down one day and you're like, why don't I do an insurance agency, right? Give us an idea of what kind of side hustles, what kind of businesses were you building
Sure,
up to the agency?
sure. Well, and it was mostly not much to note, but I guess like in college, I was involved in starting different like nonprofits, community groups, and so that kind of sparked my initial interest in starting things. And then, not it wasn't for profit based. It was more of a political and charity components to it, things like that. Then when I got out of college, I was involved in a civic organization that had a junior component for young professionals. And so I helped launch one of those here in the community to try to bring people together. And to this day, there's a big fishing tournament that raises $20,000 to $30,000 a year associated with that. And so that was kind of fun. So then I was like, okay, I like building stuff. And then I got into my brother-in-law actually came up with the idea. He was like, hey, the sunglasses business is a great business with high margins. I just watched this documentary on, I can't remember the name of the group. It's a huge group. They have like 70% of the global market. He's like, we should go start a sunglasses brand. And I was like, okay, let's do it. So we went and did that. And we didn't have a clue what we were getting into. We were severely undercapitalized, had no knowledge. And we ended up, after 4 or 5 years, we just couldn't scale it. So we sold it to some people that came in and basically got us out for what we had in it. And they're doing great with it now. It's doing great. It's called Breakline Optics.
That's pretty cool. So, all right. So it started, your entrepreneurial like bug started in the impact space, right? Started with nonprofits, pulling
Yeah.
people together, focused on a mission and then one day someone's like, hey, I watched a TV show. I watched a documentary. We should go build a business in sunglasses, right?
Yeah.
So while learning that about the consumer brands, right? From your impact side to consumer brands, what was different?
Um, I guess the That's a good question. Because there's so many similarities, right? I mean, I think, and actually, one thing that has taken me time to kind of pull together is to be able to kind of merge. I used to think of them as two totally separate things, and now I've started thinking of them more as overlapping more in the sense that your business can drive impact. You don't have to divorce those two concepts. And so that's kind of where I'm trying to go with my next journey now.
Super cool. All right. So you guys built this company with your, was it brother or brother-in-law?
It was my brother-in-law.
Okay,
And
brother.
then his brother joined us as well. So it was kind of a family affair.
I'm sure there were never any arguments with a bunch of brothers getting together to build a business.
We got along pretty well.
That's good. That's good. Do you still have a pair of the original brake line optics of the group?
I do. Yeah, I love them. They're great glasses.
Oh, that's super cool, man. All right. So you built it, you guys sold it, kind of like you broke even. You what you put into it, you got out, and you're like, whew, okay. And is that when you're like, maybe it's time to start an agency, build an insurance agency?
Actually, that was one of the catalysts for getting out of it. You know, sometimes you get emotionally attached to businesses, especially one of your first ones. And we were kind of having a hard time letting go of it, to be honest. But I had decided I'm like, okay, the sunglasses thing, it's a great product, but just from a business perspective, something's not working here for us. So I decided to go ahead and go out on my own in the insurance business, and we had simultaneously brought these other guys in to help us run the business, and then that just bringing people in after you've been doing something for 4 years just doesn't work. And so we finally were like, hey, y'all just take this thing and run with it, and we'll back out of the way. And that's where, so that kind of overlapped as far as timeline goes.
Ah, super cool. All right. So now we're at the agency part, right? So I've interviewed a lot of insurance agents and people who built agencies of different types. You built it and sold it in 3 years.
3.5, yeah.
3.5 years. All right. So you got to give us an idea because you started it from scratch, right? Or did you acquire another group?
Well, I kind of acquired, so I had built up a book of business at the agency I worked for.
Okay.
And, you know, when you're an insurance producer working for another agency, those clients have a relationship with you as their agent. So if you leave, even though you have a non-solicitation, it's often in the agency's best interest to try to work with you and sell you some of the accounts, because they're probably going to lose statistically 40 to 50% of it anyway. Mm-hmm. So that's essentially what happened. Is I had the opportunity to buy some of the accounts out of my non-solicitation. So that gave me a base. I mean, I ended up at 40 or 50% of where I was as a producer, but it gave me a good start.
Super cool. All right. So what made you set apart? So as a producer, you built a book of business. Not everyone could do that. Not everyone has this sales mentality, the producer mentality. Some are better at managing, some are better at hunting. Like where did you find your greatest skill set? And give us some tips on what you did.
Yeah. Well, one thing is I've really had to develop a business owner mindset, and that's taken a lot of School of Hard Knocks as well. But because I spent so long being trained as a salesperson, you know, and so every time you feel that anxiety of, hey, I need to do something to build my career and to advance myself, my initial mindset always was go sell more, go find more customers, go network. And I came across a book called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, who I'm sure a lot of the listeners here have read it and know all about him. But basically, I realized at that point that I was doing things wrong because I needed to think about building systems around it as a money-making endeavor. Because I as a producer, as a salesperson, all your training is, hey, stop doing non-revenue producing activities, what they would call it. And now I needed to do what I used to think of as a non-revenue producing activity. And so I needed to go build out and refine the process to where it's repeatable. So I started to get to work on that.
So as a salesperson, one of the biggest things to become a great salesperson is only focusing, like learning how to only focus on, revenue producing activities, right?
Yeah.
As a business owner, there are a lot of things that aren't revenue producing. So how hard was that to make that shift? You talk about the school of hard knocks. What were some of the lessons learned there?
Gosh, I don't think I ever fully made this shift, to be honest with you. I started to right when I sold, but
Yeah.
it was a good time to go ahead and sell in 2020. I would say the biggest thing that helped me make the shift though was when I hired someone for the first time to be my employee.
Yeah.
Because what I had done before that is I had used services. There are outsourcing services that have virtual customer service reps before virtual was cool, and and people were blown away. They'd come by my office and be like, "I want to meet Katie," and I'm like, "Katie's in Minnesota," and so we had these. So I had these virtual CSRs, and they were fantastic, and they followed processes so well. And that was where I saw the power of that. I was like, "Oh wow!" So if you give people a process to follow, and what I learned from that is you can take a fantastic employee who was a star player at the company you took them from. If you put them in the middle of chaos, they're not going to perform well, and that's not their fault. And so those are the kind of things I learned. I learned I don't think that there's any such thing as a bad employee. I think there are employees who are in the wrong job, and I think that there are employers who suck at training employees.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, my business partner is in charge of hiring and training because I'm not the best at it.
Yeah,
It's not a
I'm
skill
not
set I
either.
have.
Yeah.
So, all right. So at what point you built an agency, you're doing well. I assume. Were you guys doing pretty well? Did you hit some decent numbers for your agency, the book of
Yeah, I
business
mean,
and what
I,
you've
I think,
accomplished?
I had not reached the level that I wanted to be at yet. I mean, I was at, what was it? Let me think back on this. I guess I'll give premium dollar amounts. I was probably at, 3.5 million in premium. So, we had a little ways to go for where I wanted to get to, but, by joining Hub International, who acquired me, um, I just have a lot more resources to keep growing it through the
Super.
earnout. So they basically came to me and said, "Hey, you can still reach your goals. You could just do it with us." So that was kind of their pitch, and it was a good one.
It was a pretty good one. All right. So, when you went through this process, uh, you start, in an earnout. What does that look like in generality, right? So, like, you've
Yeah.
been approached, hey, we want to buy you. You can probably make more and hit your goals through an earnout. So, for someone who's never been through an earnout thing, what does that look like?
Yeah. So in the insurance space, it's really good. Like in e-commerce, I don't know if I would be as interested in it, but in the insurance space, the reason it's so appealing is because really what these companies are buying is, I mean, yeah, they're buying your book of business, but not really, because a book of business is a depreciating asset. You're going to lose 5 to 10% of your accounts every year, even with the agent still there. They're buying the book of business with an agent who is growing. And so from their perspective, it makes sense to buy the asset up front and then pay you a trail on the end, a carrot on the end that says, "Hey, reach this goal and you'll get X multiple." So, and I'm under a confidentiality agreement, so I can't disclose all of the specifics, but I'll talk in generalities. Is that the multiples that insurance agencies get are probably 2 to 3 times higher than an e-commerce business.
Got it. Super cool.
And that's just with the upfront, and then there's an earnout at the end.
Yeah, super cool. So, when did you decide that, like, hey, maybe it's a good idea that I do sell versus, hey, I could stick with this and I could grow it to 7 in premium? What what
Yeah.
what what was the turning point?
I had a child.
They mess up everything. I have 3 of them and I love them, but they
There was
oh,
gonna be, I needed more capital as well,
yeah.
and so it was kind of like, because I had some debt because when I bought my book from my employer, I didn't have any money, so I had to go borrow the money, and I had awesome banker that Hancock Bank. I mean, they're awesome. They gave me the money. They put me in business, and but I owed them money, and so that was taken away from family income. And then I had, and I just saw the mountain of what I had to still build out, and Hub gave me the easy button.
That was easy, right? Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Awesome. 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 Congrats on the kid. Super cool. So from there, you got the easy button, you hit it, bing. Did you have any idea of what you were going to do next?
Well, I spent the first year, really, it was a lot more work than I realized I see why they do the earnout to keep you on board too, because
It's
it
a
was
lot
a
of
lot of
work.
work on the back end, bringing all our account data into their ecosystem, and then letting my account manager get used to their workflows and how they do things. Simultaneously, I'm out trying to generate business. So it's not like uh, it's not like I'm, you know, sitting around sipping on margaritas. I mean, I still got plenty to do, but I just, now that I don't own the business, I just have to have something. I don't know what it is. I didn't plan it. There's like an itch that I have. And so, when I came across this, I said, I got to put this capital to work. I mean, I'm not going to just go drop it in the stock market silently. Thank God I didn't. Uh, so I was watching, I'm part of a group called Wealth Without Wall Street. When I say I'm part of the group, I mean I'm a client of theirs. I buy whole life policies from them and build infinite banking systems using their methodologies. And they have a podcast and like a community of people who collaborate. They had a guy on there named Daniel Espy, and they interviewed him, and he had gone through this coaching program called ACE in 360. And he was talking about how he learned to sell on Amazon and all this money he was making. Well, when I was in the sunglasses business, we should have listened to people back then. They were like, you need to be selling these things on Amazon. You got to get on Amazon. We were like, we don't want to be on Amazon. All our retailers used to gripe to us about Amazon and how they were ruining the world. And so we didn't ever pursue it. And when I listened to that, I was like, wow, this is amazing. This is like if you could take your product, like my sunglasses, if I could have walked them into Bass Pro Shop and just put them on the shelf and, and then gotten people to start buying them and then had them spread all over the country. I mean, that was my analogy in my mind. I'm like, so it was really intriguing to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I bit.
Awesome. 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 All right. So you're working, right? A lot more work than you expected. Hit the easy button, then you're like, oh wow, this is actually a lot of work here. You're going through this process, and you're like, man, I still need to have something of my own. I've got now some capital, and I need something of my own. I don't really want to do the stock market. I would love to hear your thoughts on why, right? But I want to have something of my own. So, what was the one or two main thing where you're like, screw the stock market, not for me?
Yeah. Well, I guess I wouldn't say necessarily stock market not for me. I mean, I did do some things in the market as well.
Okay.
But in general, I don't like the passivity of the market, and I don't like how it is. I hate to say this because I don't want to sound like I'm, people have preconceived notions with buzzwords, but I don't think it's rigged, but I think it's very much geared towards the large institutions. I think that the insiders have more knowledge about it, and I just think that it's a much better way to build wealth. I don't know anyone who's gotten wealthy from the stock market. I literally don't know a single person who's done that. I know a lot of people who have gotten wealthy from real estate and from building businesses. And I hear stories, I see them on the internet, so they must be true, right? I see all these stories on the internet about people who trade Forex in their account and they become multimillionaires, yet I don't know, nobody ever sees them. So, I think that's kind of interesting. So that's kind of where I am on that, I guess. I think the stock market is great for busy physicians who need somewhere to stick money passively, but for those of us who can put time and energy behind our money, I think that entrepreneurial pursuits are a better path, personally.
Super cool. So you once again you hear someone who's you listen to a webinar or you went to a training and they said e-commerce and you're like, that's it, I'm in, right? What happens after that, right? Like you just like sunglasses back in the day, watched a documentary, okay, we're in. Hey, Amazon, I think it's right. I missed the opportunity here with the sunglasses, right? Because you guys didn't at that point sell online?
Yeah,
Or
we sold on our website
okay.
minimally.
Okay,
Yeah.
copy. To this point where it's just like, is it because you saw the missed opportunity back then that you were so open to it now?
I think that the groundwork that was laid with already having a consumer brand uh, helped lay the groundwork because I learned so much from it, and I guess I did always have a little bit of vengeance in me where I wanted to still try to conquer consumer brands.
Yeah.
I'm sure that played a role because most, I don't know, and I also just I have a lot in my insurance business. I insure a lot of real estate uh, developers, investors, people that syndicate apartment deals. I see how that goes. I've seen what they go through, and I know that is definitely not all roses either. And yeah, I mean that you can build a lot of wealth in real estate, and I've been able to invest in some deals with some of my clients, um, but yeah, this appealed to me. I guess I don't 100% know why, but it definitely appealed to me. I like being able to innovate uh, around products and solve problems for people, um, and being able to launch the way that the e-commerce world is now. You can launch so many products and test things on Amazon. I mean, it's amazing.
Okay, cool. All right. So you're like, I see the direction, new kid working throughout. You now have time and resources, right? You choose e-commerce as your next play. What other things did you consider? You're like, okay, stock market, nah, maybe not. E-commerce, okay, high potential. What other things did you compare it to in terms of opportunity costs?
Yeah, I really didn't. I didn't have time to think that much about it.
Awesome. You
Yeah,
just
the
saw it.
only other thing I guess I would have compared it to would be, I guess, so I guess that's not 100% true. I had a couple of rental houses at one point and I sold those. So I did crunch some numbers of like, what if I went out and bought like a 20 unit apartment complex or 50 unit apartment complex and cash flowed it? It's not that, wasn't that appealing
Cool. All right.
compared to what I thought I could do with this.
10-4. I understand. All right. So now here we are today, and you're like, you're in the e-commerce game. Talk to us about from where you had the idea, okay, I want to be in e-commerce, to where you are today. Give us some idea of how far you've come.
Yeah. Golly, I've come so far yet so far to go. Uh, so these guys at Ace and 360, I mean, they're the real deal. And I really was kind of skeptical of anybody that has coaching programs. And so I didn't, I've signed up for stuff here and there. And just, in fact, when I was in my 20s, I convinced my dad to sign us up for this stock market investing thing that was going to, solve all our problems. And my dad put a bunch of money into it and it didn't really pan out. So I'd been kind of burned.
Yeah.
I was skeptical of this, but I talked to Neil Twa for a while and Daniel, the guy who I had heard on that podcast, and I could tell that these guys have done it themselves and built millions and millions of dollars value in the Amazon and e-commerce space. So I had a good feeling about it. So I took the plunge, and then they have just troves of information inside this portal that you get access to. They give you group coaching calls 1 to 2 times a week, and you can schedule one-on-one coaching calls basically anytime you want. So the support I got to get started was unbelievable. And in fact, that you can get inundated with studying all the information they give you to where you feel like you're not ready to launch yet because there's so much still to learn. And Reed, the guy that you really do your coaching with, he'll start saying after like 3 weeks, he's like, okay, where are you? And you tell him, and he'll be like, go order product and start putting stuff on Amazon and selling it. Just see what happens. because you
Wow.
got to. That's the only way to learn. And so, he'd be like, "Go find a factory that will sell you 20 widgets and go sell it."
Really?
Yeah,
See, that's so cool. I think for me, I've looked at Amazon and I missed, to be honest, man, I missed the mark because I was looking at it when it was early and the FBA that things were coming out fulfilled by Amazon. I was looking at it and I was like, man, I got analysis paralysis because I looked at thousands of different ideas and products and I'm like, well, I like this, don't like that. I looked at all sorts of different white labeling this, right? And I didn't pull the trigger. To this day, I've never sold anything on Amazon, right? So having someone to go, okay, it's time to go. Your homework assignments, go buy something and
yeah,
sell it right now.
yeah. And
Oh,
and it's not even now. That's definitely not the business model. That's just to get you. That's just to get you going,
yeah.
get the juices flowing, to learn how it works. And it's interesting because the whole mantra is to just launch products. The more products you launch, because there's maybe if you were to just randomly, like a blind monkey, launch products on Amazon, you could probably launch 100 products, and like 2 of them would be successful, and 98 of them would flop. But obviously, the idea is to learn how to launch products and to narrow that down and increase your chances. But point being that you can do all the research in the world, and if you're only going to launch one product, it may not work, or it may not work. It's probably going to sell. It's just like, are you going to make enough money for it to be worth your time, kind of thing.
This is super interesting because it's a single point of failure if you launch one product, right? I have family members that have launched a product on Amazon and they made it in a different color, whatever, and it was a single point of failure. It just didn't do as well as they expected, so they shut down. And then they're like, "Well, we did that. We'll never do that again." Versus a
Right.
portfolio approach of saying, "Oh, I'm learning. I'm accelerating my learning." Super smart. I didn't think of it to do that kind of stuff. So let me ask you a question. So you mentioned that you joined up with a group that I know. You decided to join up with a group. What made you decide to do that rather than just go kind of learn it on your own, buy an online course or something like that? What made you decide to go that route?
The sunglasses business.
You've learned
I
your
mean, I
lesson,
knew
right?
that I wasn't going to flounder around like that again. I mean, I'm like, okay, I'm in my late 30s now. I ain't got time for this. Like, I got to figure this thing out, and I got to go do it. And I'm not going to waste time anymore. I've got, I learned things that the hard way before, and now I need someone with immense experience to show me the path. I need my
Your Obi?
my Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Obi-Wan Kenobi. Okay. I connected the dots there. I was like, all right, I think he's talking about Obi-Wan. Okay, I understand. So this is interesting, right? For me as a deal maker, I grew up on a construction site, swinging hammers. Then I got into real estate. Then I got into other things. In my younger years, now I'm 40 now. In my younger years, I'll just learn it. I'll do it myself, right? And I can work ton of hours. I could put in time and I could afford to lose a lot. I slept under my desk at work and I would work around the clock. It doesn't matter. Get married, get a few kids under the belt. Time I don't have anymore. I
That's
don't
right.
have time to waste. So now we focus on how do I invest in stuff so I don't lose time. I don't
Right.
mind losing a little bit of money. I don't want to lose a lot, but what I can't lose is time.
Right.
Um, so that's super. I mean, you picked that up. You picked up that golden nugget a lot earlier in life than I did. So kudos to you, sir. But it was funny. It's like, why did you choose to do this? Because of the sunglasses business. You had something that wasn't as successful as you thought. So awesome work, man. All right. So let me ask you the question. So you looked at this group and you said, I don't want to waste time. What other so you're accelerating, you're working through this group. What other things did you before making a decision with a group to work with, right? What were some of the things that you said this group must have this or not have this? Because you've been burnt in the past,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I'm sure that was in your mind when you were
Sure.
looking at groups to work with. What were your thoughts?
Well, I guess it was kind of like this. So the sunglasses business, I didn't have a mentor in that business space. In the
Hmm.
insurance, I looked at what have I done that has been successful in my life. Every time I've been successful at something, it's because I had a mentor or a series of mentors.
Hmm.
When I was in the insurance business, the agency that I went to work for had highly successful partners that showed me the way. And so I emulated them, did what they taught me to do over time. Uh, when I've started different community groups that I mentioned, I always had somebody there or some group who was showing me a path forward. And when I did the sunglasses business, we were trying to reinvent the wheel, and we spent so much time and money doing things that we didn't need to do because there was already proven processes out there that you could just innovate around, and you
Hmm.
could pick the ones that you know have worked. And with with the e-commerce space, I've got these coaches who have done it a million times. They've seen all the problems 1,000 different ways they can be presented. So I have somewhere to go to solve problems. I've learned so much. I probably know more about selling on Amazon now than people who have done 5 or 6 years because they have to go look on YouTube for information. I have people who have been doing this for 20 years
Yeah.
right at my fingertips. I can message them. Reed will literally respond to messages at 10 p.m. answering people's questions.
Yeah. What is the difference, right? So in ways to learn, right? Like this is the old way Josh did things when it came to learning. I'll go to YouTube. I'll download a podcast. I'll read a book. I'll buy a online course. I'll join, versus like I'll join a mastermind group or get some mentors. Like what are some of the differences like between course, program, mentoring? Like
I see.
what are your
Yeah,
thoughts?
yeah. So that I would say, first of all, I do all of those things. I listen to podcasts. I read books. I'm not knocking any of that. I think that's all extremely important and a lot. And some people, that's all they've done, and they've been really successful. But I think the mentorship component and the one-on-one component is really important, and the experience of the person teaching, because there's a lot of people out there launching courses and doing things, and they don't have the experience to back it up. And I think, and so that was one of the biggest things for me that I looked at, is I want the person who's teaching me how to do this to be someone who has done it on a level that exceeds my goals, meets or exceeds my goals.
Got it. All
That
right.
that that was an important criteria for me.
Okay. So to where you are now, give us an idea in terms of how far you've come in the e-commerce with some numbers, like how many
Yeah.
products maybe have you launched and sold? Can you talk to us about specific volumes or something like that? What do you
Yeah.
feel comfortable sharing?
So this is another thing I learned from the sunglasses space, is that inventory is key to this business. Any widget selling business, I'll call it, as opposed to when you sell information or intangible products like insurance and financial products. That just isn't a concern. And when you run out of inventory, it'll wreck your year. But if you buy too much inventory and it's not selling fast enough, that'll ruin your year. So it becomes this really difficult balancing act. And that's kind of where I am now, is trying to gain my footing on that. So I have 3 brands I mentioned, and some would say that's a mistake in itself, but I'm kind of, again, I took the mentality of, let me launch several things into the eco space and see what works. Um, so I have a golf brand called TrueView, TRUVU, and I have a survival brand called Survived, SURVIVD. Um, Survived has been my most successful brand. And I am launching in August a brand called Slumber Owl, and our first products are going to be mattress protectors. And they're made out of bamboo top, so that they're really quiet and soft. And they also, we sourced a zipper. The biggest problem with the zippered encasements is that the zipper breaks pretty often on them. So we were able to find a supplier that claims to make the best zippers in the world. They're in China. I'm not going to reveal who that is. But they're fantastic zippers. I'll just tell you that. And we're going to have I think that's going to be a good launch. We'll see in a few months here, but we're going to be launching at a price point. And this is the kind of things that I was taught to look for: is look for products that have high margin, where you can still come in cheaper than the best sellers in your category with a better product. And that's how you start gaining that traction and grow a brand. And then you can launch into other e-commerce spaces, retail if you want to. And so that's why I'm not finding it to be overly cumbersome to have multiple brands when you're launching on Amazon, once you know how to use the Amazon space. So the Slumber Owl, I don't have any sales yet. I did a test launch and I sold like 100 units, but that was, that just validated that I could sell them at a profitable margin, which I was able to do. Survived, I sell tourniquets and trauma kits, things that hunters and hikers and campers and military and police personnel purchase from us. We've been able to source very high quality products at a good price. We found the right region of China to source that from. And I did not anticipate that this would happen, but I launched, like my tourniquets, I launched in February, and I was moving, and it was a test launch. So I had 57 units, and I was like, I had launched it a couple weeks before, nothing happened. So I was like, let me start a PPC campaign. So I started a PPC campaign, and we're in the middle of moving, and I looked down at my phone on my Amazon seller app, and they were gone.
Wow.
And so I was like, okay. So I called Reed, and he's like, all right, you got a winner. Go buy 1,000 of those, relaunch. They come in waves now. So I sell, maybe 60 a month of those right now. But every now and then, like police divisions or military bases will come in and buy them in large bulk. Same thing with the trauma kits. And then a lot of people just like to have these trauma kits. They're a great product for anybody who's going to be in any kind of outdoor situation. Has basically all the essentials you need in it. So people like those. So that one I'm doing about 600 to 800 units a month of. And I don't have very many reviews yet. I've done surveys. You can do split testing on these different websites compared to my competitors. That product is going to pick up a lot as the listing matures.
Oh, that's super cool, man. Congratulations. I just pulled up some of this stuff, and it is stuff that I love. I'm a former firefighter medic, and
Yeah.
I was just playing with my Go kit the other day. I have survival gear and some bullets and some cool stuff. I have some old gear, but this is packaged very well. Nice work, man. So
Thanks.
let me ask this question. How do you go about give us I know you're not going to give away all the secret sauce, right? Because you're launching more products and more brands and such as, but give me an idea, right? Because I
Yeah.
get analysis paralysis and I have tons of ideas. I'm an idea guy. Give me an idea on how I can, narrow into finding a potentially high margin product that could beat out the competition,
Yeah.
based on who I am.
Yeah. So I'm like you. And in fact, I've done personality tests and I score on all the points of an entrepreneur. The downside that you have with that personality is follow through, because you get passionate about ideas and then, it's hard to follow through with it. And so having a good system in place to do that is really helpful. What I learned to do is we use this thing called the green light spreadsheet, which, by the way, Neil has given me a version that I can share with you.
Oh,
And he
okay.
told me, since I'm coming on here, kind of promoting them indirectly, he said that if anybody wants it, that they can text me, and he gave me a link to it that I can share with anyone who wants it. So for
Okay.
anyone who's in the e-commerce space already, especially Amazon, what this spreadsheet will do for you is show you your margin after netting out the costs associated with Amazon fees.
Okay.
So what the idea is you go through, and if you join this program, and even if you don't, you can do this on your own. if you're interested in launching an e-commerce business, what you want to do is you want to go create a major list. We call it the big list. You want to have 500 products on it. So you can, this is your chance to go and be creative and passionate and come up with every idea you can think of. And there's even systems for how to do that. Then you go in and you start plugging them in one by one into the Greenlight spreadsheet. And so you start with the numbers. And if there's a margin in it for what you can sell it for, and when you evaluate what you can sell it for, you look at what the top sellers in your space are selling a similar product. And you say, okay, if I come in 10% cheaper with a better product, where does that leave my margin? And if your margin checks out, then you go further. You launch a test. You do a test of 20, 30, 40 units, and you see how it sells. Then you go for the big launch. So there's a methodical approach to it, so that because you could easily go blow money quick.
Yeah. And if I bought 400 med kits and they're sitting in my house, my wife will not be very happy. She'll say, you need to go buy more diapers. So
That's right.
I like this idea. All right, so I want that checklist. So how do I get that, or how does our community get that?
All right. So let me give you a phone number that they can text to.
Okay. While you're looking that up, that's super cool, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot with that. Um, awesome.
I should have had it ready. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, don't worry about that. As you're looking for that, one of the things that that I'm trying to learn and grow is have multiple streams of income, have multiple things going that I could come and pull different levers, and have other people, operate things and pull levers and such like that too. So that's what I'm trying to build in the next stage of my life. Early stage of my life was figuring my shit out and getting, learning and getting beat up a little bit. Second stage is like I'm investing in systems, processes, and people to build stuff with me and for me. So this is super cool. I'm super interested in the e-commerce world, and I think it's going to get more and more of that in the future. Did you get an opportunity to find that?
Yes, I do have it.
All right.
You want me to just call it out?
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
That's good.
I didn't know if you can put it in the notes or something. It's 251-289-0914.
Okay.
And that's it's my phone number. It's going to come to me on a Google voice line, but I set it up because I just didn't want my personal cell phone number getting blown up. But if anyone who's interested in this, if they'll just text green light, just the words green light, then I'll know what it is.
Cool. All right. So text Greenlight to 251-289-0914. I'll put that in the show notes. All right. So let me ask a few more questions about, as you're building this out, what does the future of your group of businesses and brands, what does the future look like for Bry?
Yeah, I'm going to continue to work my earn out at Hub and find commercial insurance clients. But at the same time, I'm going to continue to build these brands. Kind of got my systems going. It doesn't take that much time. I'm going to continue to be launching more products. And the next phase, I would say, with brands as they get to maturity phase is going to be to find influencers and to get kind of build out a tribe of brand followers. I still need to get social media platforms going. So that's the next journey, or that's a continuation of expanding the journey.
Super cool. During this interview, what questions should I have asked you? Because I'd like to have you on again in the future to just say, hey, we are a year later or something like that, and we're 100 products in, and this is what we've learned and such like that. But investing in e-commerce to me is super interesting. So I want to continue to follow your all's journey. But what questions should I have asked you about your life, personal or business, that I should have asked?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I think we did. I think it was a good interview.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I think you did good.
I appreciate that.
I guess one thing that would be interesting to talk about next time too would be people like to talk about that you should follow your passion and do what you launch products and things you're interested in or know things about. And I'd probably challenge that a little bit.
All right, I can't just leave that there because in my mind, as I was looking at these med kits and these trauma shears and the tourniquets and the stuff that I used in the field, to me, I was like, yeah, I'll buy a bunch of that stuff. I love it. I can talk about it. I'm passionate about it. But you're saying I might want to challenge that. Why?
Because what I've been taught to do is to follow the numbers. Launch products that are profitable first. And if you happen to find some of those that align with your interests, great. But for me, my passion actually, as I've discovered, is entrepreneurship, launching and building businesses that make a difference in the world and for the consumers, and then hopefully selling them on to someone else who can continue that building path. But so for me, I actually like to sell. The more boring the product, the better, because it people aren't going to go do it. Like sunglasses, everybody thinks it's cool. Everybody wants to go launch a sunglasses brand, and tourniquets are not that cool. I mean, it's like,
Unless you need one.
if you need one, they're awesome.
They're super cool.
my wife is a physician. She's an emergency physician, so that also kind of got me into this, because when I started looking at those products, she already kind of knows about them and was able to counsel me some. So I think having somewhere that you can access information about products is helpful. But I would say that your number one thing that you should do is find a product that has a high margin and a high demand.
Awesome. High margin, high demand. That's numbers versus passions. I like that, man. That might be the follow the numbers, man. That is so good. Man, I've spent a lot of money investing in passions, and sometimes passions haven't paid me back a good profit. So that's
keep your passions on the golf course and the boat and shooting range,
Sounds good. Sounds good. Bri, where could people? So we got your number to text Greenlight to. If people want that profitability spreadsheet to help them create a brand that's profitable, what's a way for people to connect with you? And do you have any social handles or a website or something that people can connect with you and do a deal?
Yeah. So that phone number, you can reach me there, and then I'm on LinkedIn. You can hit me up on LinkedIn. Bry, BRY Shields. I'm on Facebook, and I'm on Instagram.
Cool.
You can find me in any of those places.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Bry, thanks for being on the show. Fellow deal makers, this is the purpose and mission of the show, is to learn about different types of deals and the deal makers behind them, to get advice, wisdom, and to give opportunities to find cool deals, because I'm going to go buy a tourniquet right now. I hope you guys are having a lovely day. If you're working on a deal or want to talk about a deal here on the show, head on over to thedealscout.com, fill out a quick form, and maybe get you on the show next to talk about your cool deal, which I'll probably buy. Talk to you guys on the next episode. Bye-bye.